बैरल टूर हमारा ख़त्म हो गया है। अब हम लोग ऊपर जा रहे हैं।
In 10 years, 18%. In 25 years, 40%. Maturation.
For the people who haven't heard it yet, I'm Max, your tour guide for today. And for the people listening in a different language, your audio guide will start working automatically now as well. Now I hope you guys all enjoyed the barrel ride, during which you learned everything about Scotch whisky, its making and its maturation. Now, besides all those things, Scotland itself actually takes part in determining the flavour as well. That's why whiskies from around the country taste a bit different from each other. And to Speyside, Campbelltown and Islay. Now, after I go over those regions as well. Now the lowlands consist of sweeping, rolling hills with rich soil on them, making it the perfect place to grow barley, one of the main ingredients in Scotch whisky. Now because of its relatively flat terrain and broad river valleys, the lowlands are also where most of Scotland's inhabitants are from. Here we have Glasgow, one of the main cities, known for its rich industrial heritage. And then of course Edinburgh as well, the capital with its magnificent castle towering out above the skyline. Now Edinburgh is also host to the world's largest arts festival. That's held here every single year in August alongside the military tattooing. Now for those reasons, it's not hard to see why millions of tourists flock to these destinations to bewonder all the beauties that it has to offer. Now, back to the whisky. And also have a zestiness or a citrusiness to them. So, if you give the yellow section on your aroma card a rub, you'll get that citrusy, zesty lemon aroma. The main cities in the Highlands, very close to Loch Ness, home of that infamous Loch Ness monster. Now, the terrain here is a bit more wild and rough, with hills, waterfalls, rivers, as well as deep, sweet water lochs. And because of all of that, the whiskies from here are a bit more robust and complex as well. And besides all that lovely terrain and scenery, the Highlands also have some great man-made structures, like, for example, Glenfinnan Viaduct, often recognised by Harry Potter fans, and Elan Dolan Castle. Now, during spring and summer months, these hills are covered in pink and purple blankets of heather, and, of course, with grazing Highland goose. Now, because of the heather, you get some floral notes in these whiskies, and also some hints of honey and a nuttiness here and there. So, if you give the purple section on your card a rub, they're kind of within the Highlands, wedged in between in the north. This region is named Speyside, and as that name suggests, it's most well known for its key feature, the River Spey. Now the River Spey is Scotland's fastest flowing river. Originating from mountaintop springs and ice melts, it carves its way down through ancient granite. And because of that, the water is very low in minerals and very smooth and soft. And therefore, great for fishing, even better for distilling. Now, the river goes through deep, dark green forests. And in these forests, nearly half of all Scotland's distilleries are located. You can easily recognise them by their signature pagoda rooftops. And it becomes evident quite how many distilleries there are here by their huge storage of casks. All these casks you see here are waiting to be filled with that lovely Speyside whisky. Now these whiskies are very fruity. They might have some hints of tropical fruits like banana and pineapple, or dried fruits like raisins might be present in their aromas as well. Now then up next we travel all the way back down to Campbelltown, the smallest region we'll cover today. 100 miles from Edinburgh. Yet, getting there by car will take you about twice as long due to the windy roads leading up to it. And if you do manage to get there though, it is the warmest place in Scotland because the Gulf Stream runs right alongside it, as you can see by these lovely, beautiful beaches. At least for Scottish standards, that is, of course. Now here we have Campbelltown, and this town over here used to be the hub for whiskey distilling and fishing back in Victorian days. Back then, it had a huge fleet of fishing boats leave its harbour each and every day. And at its peak, it had 30 distilleries making whiskey at the same time. Nowadays, it's a bit more modest though, with only 3 of those distilleries still remaining in production. Yet, you can still taste the rich, historic flavours in the whiskies they make. And you can taste that through some maritime notes, hints of fudge, and a bit of orchard fruits, as well as a nice... Make a small crossover to Islay. Islay is Scotland's 5th largest island, located all the way on the west coast. And because of its location, Islay is constantly getting battered by the Atlantic Ocean. And because of that, its terrain is very rugged and dramatic, as you can see here. Now, Islay houses 3,500 people, which is not a lot if you realize that there's 9 whiskey distilleries on the island. Now, these 9 distilleries are all very unique, yet all very Islay, and that is because of the peat they use to dry their malts. This peat gives the whiskies from here its signature smoky flavor. Besides that, Islay also has some fabulous scenery, some lovely, lovely wildlife, and to top it all off, one of the best sunsets in Scotland, making it a great place to enjoy a wee dram of Scotland. Now, like I said, these whiskies are very smoky, so hints of cigar smoke, peat smoke, and also a bit of a medicinal flavour. All 5 of the malt distilling regions Scotland has to offer. Yet, malt distilling is not the only type of whiskey made here. There is another type that actually accounts for 90% of Scotland's total export. But on that one, more in the next group. If you want to all grab all your belongings and follow me through that door in the back.
यहाँ से बाहर जा रहे हैं दूसरे सेक्शन में. आई थिंक विस्की टेस्टिंग है मेन अट्रैक्शन.
स्कॉटलैंड आया और नाश्ते में
शरद बहुत एक्साइटेड हो रहा है. सॉरी, इधर एक छोड़ के एक नहीं है. 5 रीजन के अलग अलग विस्की टेस्टिंग होगा अभी, जो हम लोग पिछले सेक्शन में देख के हैं. अब उसी का टेस्टिंग भी होगा.
Alright, now welcome everybody to the Master Blenders room. Now last room, of course, I talked all about single malt whiskey. But this room, I'm going to talk about another type of whiskey. And that whiskey is called grain whiskey. Now, grain whiskey came into being in the 1830s when former Irish tax collector Aeneas Coffey patented the coffee still. Now, whereas malt whiskey can only be made with barley, this new still meant that grain whiskey contained a lot more cereals and was therefore a lot lighter and smoother, making it the perfect base for a new drink, where if you'd add all these stronger single malts to a relatively plain base of grain whiskey, you would get what they call blended whiskey. A blended whiskey, that is the one that accounts for 90% of Scotland's total whiskey export. And it's made by master blenders that in the past would sit in rooms looking typically like this one. Here, they'd put their noses and tastes to the test to try and figure out the perfect combination between single malts and grain whiskies. Now, 200 years ago, believe it or not, Irish whiskey was actually world's favourite whiskey. I know it's bizarre, but back then, Scotch whiskey was not very nice at all. It was very fiery and inconsistent and required a really specific palate to be able to enjoy it. With the addition of those lighter, smoother grey whiskies, however, that all changed. And because of these blends, it put Scotch back on top, where it has been ever since. Now, the first commercially released blend was Usher's Green Stripe. and was released somewhere in the 1800s. Now, it might have been the first, but it was certainly not the only one, because soon after its release, local grocers started using their tea blending skills to blend whiskies themselves. And this trend got so popular that it didn't stop there, but instead continued all across the globe. Now, even if you only drink single malts, you still have a lot to thank these blenders and their blended whiskies for, because they are the ones that demand consistency. They make sure that if you have a whiskey made today, it's the same quality and taste as it would have been 2 years, 5 years, or even 10 years ago. So now back to the blend. If you want to all have a look at these bottles in front of me, with them I'll explain some more about the blending process. Master blenders would start with about 70 to 80% grain whiskey. And to that, they would then add about 20 to 30% single malts. Now, which ones they'd carefully consider. If they wanted a lighter, fruity single malt, they would use Lowland and Speyside single malts. And if they wanted a more robust, in-depth blend, they would use Highland and Campbelltown malts. Now, they would also use single malts from Islay as well, but only very, very sparingly. Because if you overuse them, they'd simply take over the whole blend, make the whole thing fiery and smoky. And that's not what they wanted, because the key to a good blend is for all ingredients to come together harmoniously and make one delicious tasting drink. Now, to explain some more about that, we've got Mr. Douglas over here.
Yeah, that's better. Allow me to formally introduce myself. Douglas McIntyre, Master Blender, deceased. They've done a grand job in telling you the basics of my art, but let me try to paint you a clearer picture. Grain whiskey, which makes up the base of the blend, is like the canvas of a painting. You may not pay much attention to the canvas, but if you think about it, it needs to be the right quality to absorb and display the beautiful colours in the artist's palette. In fact, any masterpiece is only as good as its canvas. It's the same with grain whiskey. You may think it's only there in the background, but without it, there would be no great blend to enjoy. In the same way that the artist subtly mixes many different colours together to create his masterpiece, the blender blends the flavoursome single malt whiskies expertly with the grain whiskies to create something unique and magical. And there you have it. A masterpiece. Enough from me. I'm keeping you from the most exciting part.
Alright, thank you very much, Douglas. Now, circles will have appeared in front of you on the tables. And you guys are going to use these circles to show me which whiskey you'd like to try today.
Oh.
Now, if you're not 18 yet, or if you don't want to drink whiskey for another reason, just leave your glass in the middle and I'll get you some iron brew. If you do want whiskey, I suggest putting your glass on one of these circles. I'll quickly go over what they do. If you put your glass on the yellow or orange circle, to the top right corner, you'll go for the
तो
low
दूसरा भी ट्राई करेंगे.
and from there
तो
on
एक ट्राई
clockwise,
करेंगे,
the
ट्राई
purple
करते
circle
हैं.
to the
दूसरा
far right is for the Highland, the blue one to the bottom right for the Speyside, the green one to the bottom left is for the
कौन सा ये?
Campbelltown, and the red one to the far left is whiskey. And now people that are on the gold tour today, I'd advise you to either take the blend now or the Campbelltown, so the multicolored circle or the green one to the bottom left. Since the other whiskeys you'll get at the end anyway. Now for everybody, after I pour your whiskeys, don't drink them yet. We're going to go somewhere else to drink them. So resist the urges and leave the whiskeys on the table.
ये कहाँ का है? ये जो मैंने रखा है स्पेस है. और तेरा वाला ग्रीन आइला. लेकिन वो हनी वाला कौन सा था?
वही है
आइला था. अभी हम टेस्टिंग करेंगे.
You know, I could never have imagined how
मल्टी कलर वाला
200 years ago, whiskies with a small industry offered a sideline to flowers. Really took off. It's hard to believe that a mash drink distilled in the hills and
drink them. And that somewhere else is right behind this wall over here.
Oh.
Behind that wall, we have our whiskey vault. And in that whiskey vault, we have world's largest collection of unopened Scotch bottles. So please behold as we open the vault door.
Oh.
Ta-da! Don't worry, there is way more bottles in there. So if you want to grab all your belongings and of course your drams and follow me through, there's a table at the end, and around that table we'll all gather and have the tasting there. So just follow me this way, please.
ये इधर ही रहेगा क्या? ये? नहीं नहीं ये. Sorry, whiskies.
अनओपन है लेकिन एवापोरेट हो जाता है ना एंजल डस्ट जो
ये मेरा हाथ ये ना बहुत स्लीक है आईफोन. इधर देखना है ब्लर आ रहा है. नहीं कर पकड़ पा रही हूँ. हाँ. ये सारे अनओपन्ड बॉटल्स हैं. कितने सारे हैं. ओह माय गॉड.
इसका कॉस्ट
Oops. Oops.
Taking photos is allowed, but videos.
Mais o futebol, Benfica, Marítimo, Porto, tá vendo? Tem lata.
तो ऐसे चला
Pergunta para